All right, well, we're back with another one. We got the garage all cleaned up. Definitely needed that. So I had the weekend to kind of think about what I wanted to do, which direction I wanted to go, because there's still quite a bit that I need to get done in order to wrap this thing up, but I'm getting closer every single day. So what I was thinking is I've got about 2 gallons of gas in the tank. I need to get the fan hooked up, wired up, connected, make sure that that works the way that it's supposed to. I need to run through the gears in the transmission. That's why I have the drive shaft connected. I need to run through the gears and make sure the transmission works the way that it's supposed to. And then we're going to go ahead and run this thing for a while. I want to get it up to operating temperature and make sure all the seals and everything are sealed and working the way they're supposed to. I have no leaks, no major issues. One thing I definitely need to address, as you can see here, there's not a lot of clearance between that drive shaft and that cross member. So I've kind of got it marked out, thinking that that's what I want to do. Go ahead and cut it, and then we can re-weld it back in place just to give that some extra room for when the suspension does its suspension thing. First, I want to go ahead and run the gasoline through this, get it up to operating temperature, make sure that everything works, make sure that the fan works and is wired properly, and kicks on when it gets to temperature. We'll make sure that there's no leaks throughout the entire thing. Also want to do the timing on the ignition, make sure that that's set where I want it. And again, we'll check for leaks, run through the transmission, and see how everything works. After that, I need to throw the cab back on there. I've got that sitting on the ground right now, ready to go, but we'll throw the cab back on there and address the brake situation. All right, so I got the relay wired up to the fan. I got all the connections made. I have the battery hooked up. All I need to do is connect this fuse that goes inside the relay. I should be able to make sure this fan works through that toggle switch, but let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. All right, so the fan just kicked on. Yeah, the fan works. We'll go ahead and get this thing fired up and let it run for a little while so I can drain the gas tank. Pretty good. Got about 45, 50 pounds of oil pressure. Still running cool. We're going to take a look to see if this transmission works. Hopefully it does. Should be in part. Alright, there's reverse. That's good news. Neutral. That's good. Drive. And second. And first. Alright, that all seems to work. I'm surprised. We're going to let that run for a minute, and we'll check the fluid. Go ahead and take a look at the, make sure the alternator's doing what it's supposed to do. Like the alternator's charging just fine. engine's still blasting away. All right, just checked the gas and we're just about out of gas, so that's good. Been running for about 30 minutes. Everything seems to be going pretty well. Temperature's well under control. About at 190. Thermostat seems to be working pretty good. Still running through the gears. Everything seems to be good. All the fluid levels seem to be really good. So we're just gonna let this run out. All right, well, I just ran out of gas. Everything seemed to work pretty good. I think that was a pretty successful test run. I think we ran it for about 30 to 45 minutes. I let the fan cool it down just a little bit after it shut off, but we're sitting right at about 190 degrees. I don't know, man. Everything seems to be working pretty good. No real issues, no transmission leaks, no oil leaks. That's real good. You can see I do have a bit of a fuel leak right at that pump. So now that we have all the fuel out of it and everything, I'll be able to take some of these components apart. I think I'm going to take the fuel filters apart, make sure I don't have any gunk in there or anything. But I'll definitely have to wrench on that fuel pump, get it nice and tight so we don't have any more leaks. But other than that, it's been pretty successful. No issues really whatsoever. All right, I think we're ready to get the cab back on the frame so we can locate the master cylinder where that needs to go and then run the front brakes. That's about where I'm at. Pretty happy with the test. So don't laugh at me, but as you guys who work from home on your own projects know, you have to do what you have to do sometimes. And this is what I've got. I've got my engine hoist hooked up to this thing because it's pretty heavy. Even without the floors in it, there's no way I could lift it up. So I have the front of the car jacked up to get the frame and the headers off the floor as much as possible. And then I'm going to try and wheel this around and get it set on top. That's how I got it off. Hopefully it'll still work. I have not tested the floor frame to see how exactly it fits onto the chassis, but we're about to find out. I've always had help when I've done this, but I don't have any help anymore. Bit of a tight fit, but I think that just got it. Sits pretty good, looks pretty good. I don't have any issues with this whatsoever. All right, well there you have it. Got the cab back on. That was a lot easier than I expected, just by myself. But that's it in all of its glory. Doors on and everything. I did scuff up the firewall a little bit, so I'll have to repaint that. That's no big deal. Scuffed it up pretty good, no big deal. I got to take this cab back off at least one more time, get some of this body work done. I still have some patch panels and whatnot that I'm going to have to cut out and make for here. We got one for the door. There's a bunch of stuff back here. I want to go ahead and seal that off. We got a lot of body work to do on this thing, but that's the easy part. I'm really happy that it's all together. I'm happy that the motor runs, it stays cool, everything seems to work. I got the wiring for the most part right. Yeah, I've got a panel down here I need to do for the door. I need to finish welding that. I mean, there's still a bunch of work. I'm really looking forward to getting this thing on the road. I tell you what, we've got a few things that need to get done while the cab is on the frame. Obviously, the whole point behind this today is to start working on the master cylinder, locating that and getting that ready. The master cylinder that I have mounts underneath the floor, and I've kind of looked before. I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but there is hardly any room for your feet in this thing whatsoever. Now, it may be because I built the bell housing area, the tunnel, a little bit too aggressive. I tried to give some room so that I can get any kind of wiring or cables or anything that I needed down through there, but it is what it is. I've got very limited space in there. So I have to have an accelerator pedal, which I have that. I have to have the brakes. There is not enough room for a clutch. So I'm happy that I went the direction that I did with an automatic transmission. But the master cylinder and the brake pedal assembly that I have, as it sits, where it would sit on the frame, sits exactly where the accelerator pedal would be, on the right side of the floorboard. So I'm going to have to take and cut that pedal assembly to get it to fit exactly where I need to. I'm going to have to shift it over probably 8 inches to the left because that master cylinder bolts or welds to the inside of the frame. But I tell you what, if I can get these brakes done and get some steering in here, we're going to take this thing for a test drive around the block. That is my goal by the end of this month. We'll see how close I am to achieving that, but you have to have some sort of motivation, and that is mine. I want to drive this thing around by the end of this month, and I think I can do it. Pleasantly surprised. I'm really happy.